I'd like to welcome everyone to Tuesday, February the 11th, Committee of the Whole. We appreciate your attendance. We appreciate those of you that are watching online, and we are going to begin our meeting with an invocation followed by the national anthem, which will be given by one of our Colleton County High School band members, Mr. Sean Nuez, and I invite you to stand. Following that would be the pledge. Let us pray. To Heavenly Father, we bow before you humbly tonight with grateful hearts for the opportunity that you give us to support your precious children in Colleton County. As your word reminds us, where 2 or 3 are gathered in your name, you're here, and we need your presence, Lord, and ask for your wisdom that we know you give to us freely. Father, just as you called your disciples and they were unique individuals, we all come together uniquely, but we come together as one for what's best for the children of Colleton County. We thank you for the many blessings that you bestow upon us each and every day, and we pray at the end of this day you will say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Father, we come together respecting each other's opinions and under your leadership, seeking only your approval. May we come together as one, so as Psalm 133, you can command the blessing. And now we join in the prayer you taught your disciples. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive others who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Amen. Was our band student able to be here for the national anthem? Okay, we'll join together in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We are honored tonight to have our mission statement read by members of the Colleton Adult Learning Center under direction of Mr. Horvath. So take it away.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'd like to introduce Mr. Terrell. He's going to start with the mission statement, and we're going to just share maybe 2 or 3 minutes on some of the great things going on at Calc. Go ahead, Terrell.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Evening.
My name is Terrell Hayward. Colleton County School District will prepare every student to graduate with a 21st century education to be globally competitive for their chosen college and/or career path.
That's it for now. You can sit down, and you'll come back again, okay? Very good. All right. Now you're ready? Good.
Yes. El Distrito Escolar del Condado de Colleton preparará a cada estudiante para graduarse con una educación del siglo XXI, para ser competitivo a nivel mundial para la universidad o carrera que elijan.
Thank you so much. And so we have an ESL class as well. So we're trilingual, at least on a nightly basis on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's your mission statement in Spanish as well. And now, Mr. Michael.
Good evening. Good evening. Board members, Superintendent Williams, educational leaders, members of the public. My name is Michael Washington, and I want Colleton County to know that you can find your future at Colleton Adult Learning Center. I personally have taken classes at Calc as well as Technical College of the Lowcountry, and today, big thanks to Mr. Horath, I am now a counselor for the South Carolina Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. And it's my pleasure in that position to be able to funnel students back into Calc so that they can become productive members of society.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi, my name is Enza. At the Colleton Adult Learning Center ci prendiamo cura degli studenti adulti e questo è il momento giusto.
Thank you so much. Yes, and that's a little Italian for you as well. And a big thing happened in November with you, didn't it?
Yeah.
What was that big thing?
Good.
And what happened in November?
I don't understand, sorry. I'm citizen, yes.
She's now a citizen of the United States of America. That's not easy. And then lastly, Arturo.
Hi, my name is Arturo Salazar, and I'm transitioning to the GED preparation class. I am like 300 other adult learners who annually take advantage of Colleton Adult Learning Center. We take the TAPE test to qualify for services through South Carolina Works. Become career ready by passing the WIN test, earn our high school credentials, go to college, and enter the workforce. After passing the GED test, I plan to pursue a career in the United States Air Force. Thank you.
And I would just like to say thank you, board members, superintendent, and all educational leaders, as well as the community. If you are a member of Colleton Adult Learning Center, would you please stand at this time and be recognized? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Horvath, and to your students and staff, thank you, thank you. That was a wonderful presentation of our mission and a nugget of what happens at Colleton Adult Learning Center.
Thank you for the goods, too.
Yes, and we will advertise for you with the goodies and a nice handout that we can echo all the wonderful things you're doing. Thank you, thank you. Moving along, our civility pledge is on the screen, and we like to remind ourselves of this every month, so please join with me. I pledge to build a stronger and more effective school board by advocating for civil engagement, respecting others and their viewpoints, and finding solutions for the betterment of my school district. Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the agenda that was presented to us electronically, and those of you that want a hard copy, we have that too.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
A second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion with item 1.01 through 12.01, raise hands, please. Unanimous. And may the minutes reflect that we have 5 board members present, and we'll be expecting Mr. Nixon and Mr. Roman anytime. Moving on, our chairman's report. Tonight, we would like to pay a special tribute. The board would like to say thank you to those of you that were able to participate, but for those that were not, there was a wonderful ribbon-cutting ceremony at Thunderbolt Career and Technology Center last week, and we wanted to say thanks to all that coordinated that, all the work that went forth, even before some of us sat on this board, so that the students can enjoy that facility. And one of the teachers commented that she was looking forward to that since 10th grade, and now she's an instructor there. So it was just a wonderful opportunity to not only highlight that program, but we toured other programs, and it was a wonderful event. So if you didn't get to be there for the open house ribbon cutting, you could set up something with Mr. Kubik. I think he's in the audience, and go over and visit the new site. Also, any other board members' comments? But hats off to those that organized that wonderful event. Also, I wanted to give a special thanks on behalf of the board to the students and staff and community that were able to come out for the prayer vigil that was organized by 3 student groups. It was well attended by the community, and we wanted to thank all that were there, and especially those students that suggested that event, the Sisters in Action and the Boys to Men Club, and one other.
Ladies of Excellence.
Ladies of Excellence. Three groups came together under the direction of Ms. Sonia Stevens and other leaders. So we appreciate all of you that were able to be there for the prayer vigil as we come together as a community to pray for a decrease in the violence in our community. As a way of an announcement, board members, Ms. Hyman has prepared for you information for the conference coming up February 20th to 23rd. She's made all the arrangements. New board members and chair session will be the first day, followed by all the other sessions. So hope everybody will be able to attend, as well as our superintendent. We look forward to that conference, 75th anniversary of the State School Board Association. Board members, please check your calendar as we begin the budget process. Superintendent Williams has asked that we look at our calendars for February the 25th for a work session. So that would be a Tuesday that we don't normally meet, but it would be a work session that would be necessary as we begin the budget process.
I'm not sure if you are in need of a motion, Madam Chair, but I just want to make note that I do think that given what the Department of Finance has told us and the superintendent, as far as the expectations, in order to keep the budget process moving on, this is a good date for me, and if there was any other suggestions, I can certainly make myself available, but I think we need to kind of keep within the confines of what is needed to keep our budget process kind of moving. So that's a good date.
Thank you. So we're moving on to section 3, where we enjoy the staff recognition. Superintendent Williams, we like to remember the core value that every member of Team Colleton works for kids and makes important contributions towards becoming a world-class school system.
Thank you, Chair Strobel, and I'd like to say good evening to all of our board members, and I'd like to say good evening to our district and school level staff and also community members. Thank you to everyone for being here tonight. This is one of my favorite parts of our school board meeting because we have an opportunity to recognize our staff for the hard work that they do in our schools each and every day. So we want you to know that we appreciate you to the highest. We thank you for being one of Team Colleton, and tonight we're going to recognize several of our staff members for all that they do in going above and beyond. So I'm going to first of all call your name, and if you're here, we'd like for you to come up, get your certificate, and then stand in the front, and then I'm going to read a little bit about each person, okay, that was submitted by your building level principal. So I'm going to start with Bells Elementary School. We have Miss Shanice Pasco. She's here. From Blackstreet Early Childhood Center, we have Miss Tynette Goff. From Forest Hills Elementary, we have Brinley Briannis Hance. And from Hendersonville Elementary, we have Miss Cassandra White. From Northside Elementary School, Anthony Crimley. From Colleton County Middle School, Miss Carolyn Anderson. Okay. From Colleton County High School, Miss Toya Bennett. Toya Bennett. Okay, she's not with us. From TCTC, we have with us Miss Malkia Berry and Miss Raquel Bryan. From Colleton Adult Learning Center, we have Miss Carolyn Lewis. Here. And then from the Office of Athletics, we have Miss Holly Glover. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to read a little about you that your principal submitted for your award tonight. So so I'm going to start with Ms. Shanice Pasco, and if you could just step forward as we read a little bit about you. All right, Ms. Pasco has worked very hard to get adjusted to a new country, a new school, and a new culture. She is very focused on her students and learning the curriculum and instructional expectations to best meet the needs of her students. She is like a sponge, wanting to learn and soak up all that she can. So that came from your principal, Principal Ferguson, and she's here tonight to congratulate you. And now from Blackstreet Early Childhood Center, Ms. Tynette Goff. She's a teacher at Blackstreet, and I know Ms. Pearson is in the audience tonight cheering you on. And Ms. Glover is here as well. Mrs. Goff is always smiling, and she is always smiling and supporting her Blackstreet team and students. And while she is always a friendly face to have around, she takes her job very seriously. She has a passion for our youngest learners and works tirelessly to ensure that they are getting the most out of their time here at Blackstreet Early Childhood Center, and we are so very grateful to have her as a part of our team. All right, Miss Briannis Hance, if you would step forward. Miss Briannis is from Forest Hills Elementary School. Is Mr. Guarino. Is Mr. Guarino here? Or Miss Edwards? Okay. All right, so Miss Briannis Hance consistently goes above and beyond by stepping in when teammates are absent, tutoring students after school in our ML program, and actively participating in school-wide events. Her dedication to supporting both her students and colleagues make her a well-deserving recipient of the Above and Beyond Award. Congratulations. Okay. And from Hendersonville Elementary School, if you would step forward, we have Miss Cassandra White. And she was one of my students, as a matter of fact. Miss White is a first-year teacher that works hard to perfect her craft. She asks great questions and meets all of the administration's expectations. She has built great relationships with her students, and they work hard to make her proud. Mrs. White comes early and stays late every day to ensure that she is prepared for her students. Congratulations, Ms. Cassandra White. I don't want to overlook Mr. Smalls. I don't think he's in the audience. All right, now from Northside Elementary School, if you would step forward, Mr. Anthony Crimley. Mr. Crimley has been a wonderful addition to the faculty and staff of Northside Elementary School, as his commitment to the students of the Colleton County School District goes above and beyond. Being that he is a product of the Colleton County School District, on any given day, you can find Mr. Crimley at recess with students, helping out throughout the school, or playing his guitar in the hallway, creating silly songs. The relationships built with Mr. Crimley will last a lifetime. Thank you, Mr. Crimley, and congratulations. Okay, and next we have from TCTC, we have Miss Malkia Berry and Miss Raquel Bryan. So if both of you would step forward, because I think that Mr. Kubik did an all-encompassing a little write-up about both of you. But these ladies have endured the process of getting our nail tech and barbering programs off the ground. So give them a big round of applause. They have provided much-needed guidance regarding LLRA regulations. Now that they are in the classroom, they continue to show their passion for the work that they do and the industry that they represent. They are diligently passing that passion on to their first classes of students. Let's give Ms. Berry and Ms. Bryan another round of applause. And I know Mr. Kubik's here. If you would just wave your hand. Thank you so much, Mr. Kubik, and thank you to everyone again. We truly, truly appreciate all that you do for our district. So continue doing that and continue lifting us up as we continue to go higher and higher. All right? Thank you. We want you to shake our board.
Congratulations. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for your honesty.
Keep up good work. Keep up good work.
Thank you so much.
Keep up good work. Appreciate all you do. Appreciate all you do. Appreciate all you do.
so much. Thursday night was great.
You could have brought and played a song for us today.
Thank you.
Good to see you. All right, thank you for all you do. How are you? Thank you for all you do.
That's it. Yes, this ends our recognition for tonight.
Thank you, Superintendent Williams, and I'm so thankful for all of those that you recognize, and Mr. Kubik, a special thanks for recognizing those 2 teachers that stuck with us to get that program off the ground. And I just wanted to mention, I said that Miss Berry was thankful we finally had it because she wanted it since 10th grade. And I was happy to hear Miss Bryan tell us that she was a student at the Beaufort Jasper Career Center. So she's happy to share what she learned as a student with our students. So the story continues. Thank you. May the record reflect that we have a full board. Thank you. Is there something we wanted to acknowledge?
I think we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Yes. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
As we move on to complete our agenda tonight, we're moving to item number 4, old business. Just wanted the minutes to reflect for those of you that were able to attend. Our first policy meeting for 2025 was held on January the 28th. And we had 3 board members that were thankful volunteered to be on that committee. That's our only committee at this time. And I want to thank Trustee Cunningham and Trustee Nixon and Trustee Irwin for giving extra time to that committee. I know it's a lot of work as well as our staff and our attorney. And at that meeting, by consensus, Mr. Irwin agreed to serve as chair again this year, and we appreciate his leadership there. So no formal action, just wanted to make mention of that in our minutes. And under new business, our next policy committee meeting, y'all 3 can decide what's best for your calendar. Other board members can attend if they like to be in the audience. But it's at the pleasure of administration and the 3 committee members for the next policy committee. And we were not able to meet yesterday as we had planned for February, but we look forward to what date, if it's a good time for all 3 of you. You need the dates suggested, or you can let us know next week.
Yeah, I think we'll get together and we'll
Great.
make that known.
Good. We just want to keep that as new business so we can keep our policy committee date on the calendar. For first reading, there are no items that are listed that need to come before the board tonight. For second reading, we do have policy CCA organizational chart. It was in our packet, and I bring to your attention, the superintendent had suggested a name change for the athletic director that's reflected on that policy, as well as a cleanup, so that policy simply reflects all of the positions for coordinators and directors. Any other information, Superintendent Williams, on that first reading?
No,
Second reading, sorry.
Yeah, that's basically it. The additional changes, as Chair Strobel stated, we've made sure that the organizational chart denotes notes directors and coordinators only. There were some positions that were listed there that were not directors and coordinators, so we've cleaned that up. And also just made the lines a little clearer as to who reports to the superintendent. And those were the revisions, in addition to the name change for the athletic director.
Thank you for the work that you and the policy committee and your staff. If there's any other discussion, if not, that will take action next week. It's just for information tonight.
Just a request, Madam Chair, that the revised policy, the graph that is presented and was presented to the board, be posted online. It is slightly different, again, than the approved first reading last week, or 2 weeks ago at the last meeting. And it is just one change, and then there was some adjustments, but no changes to the personnel identified. Is that correct, Ms. Williams?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes, and we will post that once the board approves it next Tuesday.
The request is for the first reading because the first reading was passed.
Okay.
And then there were additional changes, so that needs to be shared publicly.
Okay, not a problem.
Thank you.
So you're asking that that be on the website where it lists policies under revision?
Correct.
Okay, thank you for making that note, and we'll make sure that's posted, as well as board members, you can see the changes and any discussion that needs to happen next week before we officially vote. Thank you, Trustee Wickham, for making sure we have that available. Moving on to Section 8, the Superintendent's Report. Effective leadership supports learning and optimal performance for all students. 8.01, Superintendent Williams, we look forward to you highlighting information that we need for February.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Strobel. And I want to start with the first slide. If you can go to that first slide. So, community partners are very, very important to the success of our school district. And my goal, as I've stated before, is to highlight those partnerships on a consistent basis. This evening, we are happy to have with us Dr. Sarah Miller. She is the Associate Dean for Academics and Student Affairs and Professor of History at the University of South Carolina, Salkehatchie campus. And she will come before us and share some exciting new programs that will be offered to our students through our partnership. So we ask Dr. Miller that you come up at this time and present in your own special way.
Thank you, Superintendent Williams. Chair Strobel and the board, thank you for having me here today. So I am Dr. Sarah Miller. I oversee the USC Salkehatchie dual enrollment in early college programs, and I'm excited to tell you just a little bit about them. My first slide here is a couple of terms, and I want to throw them out there because, show of hands, does anybody know what any of these mean? A little bit, right? Exactly. So dual enrollment is a term that we use to cover everything, and that means simply that the students are dually enrolled. They're enrolled in high school and they're enrolled in college. Dual credit means that they're getting college credit and high school credit. So they're getting dual credit, not just attending the classes. And then mostly what I'm going to talk about here today is the early college program. We are going to graduate our second cohort from Colleton County High School in our early college program coming up this May, and we're super excited about that. So that means that students are going to get their dual credit. They're going to get everything they need for high school, and then they're going to get everything they need to graduate with an associate's degree from USC Salkehatchie, all, in the case of Colleton County, the month before they graduate from high school. So that's kind of exciting. All right. So requirements. I have to keep looking over here because my eyes don't see all the way over there, so sorry if I'm looking around. So it's a 3.0 GPA, that's a high school GPA. Recommendations from a school counselor, a complete application, and pay the $10 fee unless you do it any time where we're out promoting, and then I'll waive it for you. So we can waive that fee. Submission of high school transcripts, that's from the teachers. and from the counselors, and either a copy of their driver's license or birth certificate, simply to say that they're citizens, because all of that's the paperwork that we need. We admit them to USC Salkehatchie. At that point, they become not only Colleton County High School students, but USC Salkehatchie students. So you hear free college credit, and that is the HSLTAP, that's your lottery money. And lottery money pays for the credit, but not for any fees or books. But how many of us here would have gladly paid only our fees and books in college? Exactly. So save money and time. I thought this was an interesting statistic. So the average dual enrollment student completes at least 1 year of college credit before graduating from high school. So that's just if they're taking 2 classes each semester, their junior and senior year. So that either takes off an entire year of going to college, or what appeals to a lot of students is, you go to college and you got to take the 5 classes, and heaven forbid one of those is a science with a lab, right? So you can take 4 classes. So it gives you a little bit of wiggle room, especially as a freshman coming into college, that you're not so overwhelmed with what you're going to be taking. So I mentioned going off to college. So the next slide here, courses that transfer. The courses that we offer, mostly for dual enrollment, are what we call the Carolina Core. There's the core classes that you need to go just about everywhere, and they transfer. In most cases, it transfers for the class. Occasionally, there are classes that only transfer for credit. Okay? Maybe I shouldn't mention this, but Clemson accepts our English 102, but not our 101. So, not sure about that. You talked to them about that, would you? All right, so that's just a couple of examples of where you can go. And, you might have heard Salkehatchie, we say start here, go anywhere. That includes dual enrollment. Start with us in dual enrollment and go wherever you'd like. This is a sample of our early college curriculum plan. And what I'm showing here is everything in that sort of pink peachy color. That is what students should do during their freshman and sophomore year in high school. And then they move to early college. And we have 2 different color blues there representing what is dual credit, meaning that they're getting their high school credits as well, because there's still high school credits that they need to earn in order to graduate. So when I put these schedules together, there's several things that I think about. First of all, we need to get them graduated from high school, and then we want to get them graduated from college. So that's the dual credit, and then also what they need for their associate's degree. So that's sort of the down and dirty, dual enrollment 101. Next slide is just questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions now or later. In the basket over there, I left some pens and also my business card, so if anybody doesn't want to ask questions now, pick it up, give me a call, shoot me an email. I'm happy to talk to anybody about it.
Dr. Coney, if you're prepared, if not, you can share as far as transportation if students are, attending the campus while they're still at the high school. Do they provide their own transportation?
Yes, they will provide their own transportation. And I see Mrs. Witkin looking at me because I know what she's going to ask because I forgot to say it.
I'm going to ask you a question. One, and to follow up with Ms. Strobel's question about transportation, is there a set or standard of how many classes are virtual or in person for both the dual enrollment and early college, or is there a distinction one way or another?
So Salkehatchie offers both online and face-to-face classes. We try to put all of the early college students in face-to-face classes, and we offer those classes at 9:30 and 11. The reason we did that is when we started the program, they were being bused. And the bus schedule had to fit that as well. Also because that ends their classes at 12:15, and we really want our early college students, even though they're early college, to be kids, to be high school students, so that gets them back for band or sports or something else that they want to be involved in, or if they need to pick up another class. So currently all of our in-person Salkehatchie classes for the cohort are 9:30 and 11 o'clock. Now we have some students who are taking other random classes that might be at 8, might be at 1 in the afternoon, which are other class times. And then students who don't come to campus, that is virtual.
So is that's my understanding, sometimes more dual enrollment tends to be more virtual classes, whereas early college, you're on campus more. Is that correct?
Correct, but should somebody who is just doing dual credit classes want to come to campus, they're welcome to come to campus. The transportation issue would probably be part of that.
And just want to make note that social media, to follow USC Salkehatchie is a wonderful way to get information. And as a follower on Instagram, I found out that you are having information sessions for, thank you, for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students and parents at the high school this Thursday. That's the 13th. At 4:15 and 5:30, I think.
So we will be there from 4 until 6 to answer any questions, to fill out any application, waive any application fees. But then presentations will be at 4:15 and 5:30.
Okay.
And I should mention too, in case we have anybody listening who has some students going off to college, USC Salkehatchie will also be there for a FAFSA night next door in the media center. So you can double dip if you got a couple of kids.
Wonderful information. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
One quick question for you, please. If we could go back to the previous slide. I was looking at the course schedules. So they're finishing their English 1 and 2 in their freshman year, English 3 and 4 in their sophomore year. How does this affect a child who may not find success in one of those English courses as far as going on then to your courses in their junior and senior years?
So a couple of things, and we rely on counselors for this a lot. So English 3 can be dual credit for English 101, and English 4 can be dual credit with English 102. So students can make that up. What I have here, the more they get in high school of the English, the better they seem to do. But I've tweaked this schedule every semester, I think, trying to find ways for students to be more successful in early college. You might notice there's, it says PCAM 106. That is actually, it doesn't give dual credit, but it is a Foundations of Algebra class, so that students come into the early college program, they get algebra, which hopefully they've already had a little taste of, but on the college level and the college speed. So we found by giving them PCAM 106 first, before they go into Math 111, that they've been much more successful doing that.
Okay, I was just wondering. Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to note that in this schedule, you begin as a freshman, and a number of our students that are early college and dual enrollment will begin taking high school classes in 8th grade. So there can be some variance there as well. Is that correct?
And this is, and even if you see, you know, where I put classes up there and then I put some letters underneath it, that's the Carolina core. And a lot of that would depend on, you know, what kind of professors I have to offer these classes. So they'll get the core. We make sure they get the courses they need for high school graduation. But let's say the criminal justice class, which is what the Carolina Core calls GSS, that can also be filled by a philosophy course. So if I don't have somebody to teach criminal justice, the students could take philosophy instead.
Dr. Cohn, we appreciate you bringing this to us and our community, and we appreciate when Superintendent Williams is able to show us during graduation those students that have already gotten associate degrees. That's such a cost saving to the parent. And I wonder if you're able to speak about the trends. I know I had a son in 2008, you know, that was able to benefit from staying home those first years and then going on to USC Aiken and USC Columbia. Are we seeing that trend that we're getting the students from high school, we're getting our locals to stay in Colleton, you know, to get those basic courses before transferring on? How's the trend?
I'm hoping going up. So we're working with that all the time. COVID, COVID. I don't think I need to say anything more than that. But we're looking more and more to get, I would like to see more students from Colleton County High School come to Salkehatchie. I don't think that as many students that could benefit from Salkehatchie come to Salkehatchie, and I'm talking twofold there. I'm talking about the students who would come that want to go to a four-year school, but get their first 2 years with us. I actually have I didn't bring it with me, but a handout. The savings for Salkehatchie, if you're a Life Scholar, you get our average scholarship. It's $700 a year to go to Salkehatchie. So that, but also those students who plan to go for 2 years and go somewhere else, but students looking for an associate's degree, we would love for them to come here. Those students who maybe thought that they couldn't go to college. One of the things that I love about our teachers at Salkehatchie is they want their students to learn, and they'll work with their students. We have a 15-to-1 ratio for students, and our teachers know their students and are willing to help them. So students who maybe, hadn't really thought about going to college, I encourage them, come look at Salkehatchie, see what you can do, get your associate's degree. If you want to end there, fine, but hopefully that'll give you some confidence and maybe go on to do something else as well.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. I apologize I said Dr. Cohn, but thank you for echoing that. And anything we can do, if we can go to civic clubs or whatever we can do to help, get the word out for, the wonderful opportunity our students have to stay home and save that cost of board and the cost of tuition by being at home and being local. We appreciate you coming, and thank you, Superintendent Williams, for having her on the agenda.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yes. All right. I, too, want to thank Dr. Miller publicly again for coming and sharing those exciting opportunities for our students. Chair Strobel, I would like to ask if it would be okay to allow Mr. Finnegan is here with his student, Mr. Nunez, that was going to play the national anthem. They're here. I think there was a little mix-up with the time. So we're going to ask Mr. Finnegan if you and Mr. Nunez would come up so that he can play the national anthem for us.
We apologize for being late. We're in Big Blue Jazz practice and thought the meeting started at 6, so this is Sean Nunez. Take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Finnegan. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Superintendent Williams. We wouldn't want to miss that moment.
Sean was just named the Southern Region All-Region Band.
Well, congratulations.
Sean does everything. He's in Big Blue Jazz, he's in our Winter Guard, our Winter Percussion Concert Band, and he's one of our band captains. So he's really one of our stars in the band. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome.
Sometimes
Awesome job.
Sometimes we see Big Blue as one, but we forget there's many, many talented people that make it one. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
What year is this student?
Senior.
He's a senior.
And he's going where to school next year for music?
He's decided to look at Full Sail, University of Orlando, Florida. So, but he's had several offers at different places. He's so talented. He's a dancer, he spins rifle, he does it all.
It's awesome, awesome.
Really
Thank you,
impressive.
Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Finnegan and Mr. Nunez. Thank you. It is always good to highlight our students, so it's just great to showcase their talents because they have so many talents that sometimes goes unnoticed, so awesome job. All right, I'm going to continue with the presentation. This particular slide is concerning our Colleton County School District Parent Forum. They will present at our March meeting, but I wanted to put the slide there now so that you will know to expect that presentation in March. Okay, go to the next slide. All right. So at our January board meeting, I shared information with you concerning formative assessment data in grades 3 through 8, and tonight I will share information with you concerning formative assessment data at the high school level. So students enrolled in a Gateway EOC course participated in the Mastery View Predictive Assessment for Algebra 1, Biology 1, English 2, and U.S. History during the 2 benchmark windows, and those windows were September 16th through the 20th, and also November 11th through the 15th. As you are aware, students are required to take 4 Gateway courses through their 4 years of high school, and those courses are Algebra 1, Biology 1, English 2, and U.S. History. Students enrolled in these courses are required to take a state exam in the last 15 days of the enrolled course. And as part of the improvement plan for the high school, Mastery View Predictive Assessment were administered to students twice during the semester prior to them taking the EOC exams. And these exams were taken in their classrooms on their Chromebooks during the windows seen on this particular slide. Okay, next slide. So the purpose of these predictive assessments is to provide teachers with the data they need to inform classroom instruction in order to identify any standards that students may need additional instructional support on prior to them taking the EOC exam based on their performance. The EOCs were actually held the week before Christmas break, and after the completion of the assessments, teachers met in teams to analyze this data to help them inform their instructional decisions. In this analysis, remediation and acceleration strategies were identified for students that were identified in this analysis process. So now on this particular slide, we're going to take a look at how well our students performed in the category of scoring C or better. And you can see that 3 of the 4 contents had more students scoring C or better on the second benchmark rather than the first. The first is in blue, the second is in gray. English 2 did have a slight decline at the second benchmark, but I would like to remind everyone that this semester's English 2 exam will be the first one that assesses our students on the new ELA standards. The actual EOC summary data, that is embargoed right now at this point, so this information cannot be shared publicly at this time. Okay, and then the next slide, when you look at the percentages of students scoring C or better and D or better of our students, they scored D or better more than C or better in all of the content areas. Biology 1 and English 2 are the content areas with the highest scores, as you can see from the chart there. U.S. History is the lowest performing content in both of these categories. Our students enrolled in a second semester EOC course are taking the first benchmark this week. Okay. All All right, any questions concerning the benchmark assessments before I move forward?
Madam Chair, if I may. Ms. Williams, just want to ask the question, what is it that we are doing differently second semester, specifically when it comes to the English? That is, in the information presented, English went down the second time tested. So I can only assume based on the trend that our EOC English scores were not as expected. So what is it we're doing second semester to remedy that? And then two, U.S. history continues to be a challenge for us. What is it that we are doing differently so that we can increase those scores?
So I can tell you, that as I stated before, teachers are looking at those benchmark assessments, and they are looking at those standards that students are having difficulty with to make sure that they plan remediation strategies for the students. I know that Ms. Hedden is not here. I don't know if Ms. McDonald would like to share any additional information concerning that. Question as far as what we're doing differently.
Happy to hear more next week.
We can share that next week.
Specific. Again, English 2, both times the benchmark did not increase, which doesn't have a whole lot of logic from for the duration.
Right.
There was over 6 weeks difference of instruction. And then U.S. history continues to be a challenge for our district. So I just want to hear more about how we are increasing instruction or bettering instruction so that those test scores continue to rise instead of the downward trend that we're seeing.
Yes, we will certainly make sure that we have that information for you at the next board meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Superintendent Williams, are we doing these benchmark windows in non-EOC classes?
These benchmark assessments are only done in the EOC classes.
So I just want to make a statement, and please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds an awful lot like we are teaching to the test instead of teaching our kids the way many of us on this dais were once taught, that our teachers were given the responsibility to teach the curriculum, and they did that. Now it sounds like, let's do all of these benchmarks in between the semester to see where they're struggling so we can get them just so they'll do good on an EOC test. And I really look forward next week to hearing why that's not the case and how we're teaching the curriculum and not just worrying about the scores on the test.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. And that is not the case, and we will be prepared next week to give more information concerning that. Any additional questions?
Just knowing, having been a teacher, the benchmark gives us data. It doesn't guide our instruction as much as just us showing scores just to highlight, where we are. It's just a road mark for where we need to be before we get to the real test.
Right. Okay. On the next slide, go back one slide. Yes, just wanted to let board members know that we are engaging in the budget process for the 25-26 school year. And during this process, we are analyzing our needs. We're looking at our staffing. We're meeting with department leaders, meeting with school leaders. And as I think Chair Strobel already mentioned, we would like to get the priorities from the board as far as the budget is concerned, and I am asking for a work session to be held on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025, if that is conducive with your schedules.
I shared earlier that it is. I didn't hear any opposition, and I'm happy to go ahead and put that date on my calendar. Is that, I'm not getting nods from board members. Is everyone else willing to put that date on their calendar?
We're presenting it tonight, and we'll have a meeting next week, so if everybody's ready, but if not, next week, we could definitely firm it up. It was a suggestion tonight, so we'll be ready for next week, unless everybody's ready for a thumbs up.
It's on my calendar, so y'all just let me know. I appreciate
All right.
the 5-year strategic plan that you sent so that
Yes.
board members can look at that and try
Yes.
to use that to bring some insight into that meeting.
Okay.
Whenever it is.
All right, thank you. All right, next slide. All right, This slide pretty much just outlines some of the calendar revisions that I am recommending that we make. As you are aware, we will need to make up one of the days that we were out for the snowstorm, and that makeup day will be March 7th. It was already on our calendar and indicated as a makeup day. And we're making up January 22nd on March 7th. March 6th is currently a half day of school, which is designated as a parent conference day. And I am recommending that the parent conference day be shifted to March 17th to be more in alignment with the release of the third quarter report card issue date. Basically, March 17th would be a better fit educationally for our students and our families because of the fact that this is the release date, and there may be some concerns as to, why this was not presented before, but as you know, we have been out of school for snow days and different weather-related issues, and I did have discussion and conversation with several district leaders and school leaders, and we believe that just pushing that parent conference day back to be more in line with those report card release, with that report card release date would be better for our students and our parents for that parent conference day. So I'm asking for your approval at the next board meeting to approve March 17th as the half day instead of March 6th.
Actually, Superintendent Williams, we are allowed now under policy, we changed our policy last year that the committee of the whole, if it's time sensitive or something important, and legal did say we could take action tonight so people can begin to plan for this change. It was already noted on the calendar when we approved it. Board members, last year we approved the calendar for this year, and we noted makeup days as the state asked us to. So the makeup day of March the 7th was already a tentative day that, folks knew we might have to use. So we need to use it, of course, because we miss more days than we need to. But the motion would be that we allow Superintendent Williams, based on her recommendation for when the third quarter report card goes out, that we allow the half day to be March 17th. So there's no change in the count. We're making up a day that was, put in the calendar and approved, but we're giving her approval with a motion and a second discussion that it would be March 17th for the half day. That's a Monday.
Right, and also because March 7th is a makeup day and March 6th is indicated on the calendar as a half day, I really would like to have 2 full days of instruction and not have that break in instruction on the 6th. So by moving that half day, that would give us March 6th and March 7th as full instructional days.
So I entertain a motion to accept the recommendation to move the half day from March 6th to March 17th.
I'd like to move that we accept the superintendent's suggestions for the March 6th, 7th, and 17th days changes.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion about the recommendation?
Ms. Williams, I think that you did share that this change developed because, it was recommended by our principals.
Well, it wasn't recommended by principals, but I had discussion with principals and with district leaders. It was my recommendation because, as I stated, I wanted March 6th and March 7th to be 2 full instructional days without any breaks. So it was my recommendation. I had discussion with the leaders to get their feedback as to, when we would do the half day.
I'm sorry, misunderstood. I just am grateful to know that everyone was looking out for the educational needs. Of course, everybody would be, but it's nice to know that there were enough people from the district that were looking at that and appreciate hearing that. I will say that inclement weather days on a weekend or the day before a weekend are often going to be days that people are going to circle for long weekends. And so they're going to go ahead and schedule some time away. And so having the switch from a Friday to a Monday 2 weeks later is a little bit, I know some things have already been set. Looking at other outside extracurricular activities have been, already set around the 6th and the 7th. So as we look at next year's calendar and inclement weather days, I think you want to be able to, schedule an inclement weather day where it can be a useful professional day for our staff and a restful day for our students. This change is a little different, and I understand why it's needed.
Ms. Whitkin?
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the change recommended, raise right hand. Unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Williams, for that recommendation, and I'm glad we had that makeup day built in so people would know that could possibly be a change. And we're glad we can do it as early as possible. Thank you, legal counsel, for advising us to go ahead and do that this week so people can plan accordingly.
Yes.
May I just add that, can we go ahead and communicate any type of changes?
Yes.
As soon as possible, but also those two extracurricular activities as well.
Communicate this as you have approved it. Thank you. Okay, lastly, in my report, I wanted to highlight some of the programs that have taken place over the past 2 weeks. On Sunday, February 2nd, the Ladies of Excellence, Boys to Men, and Sisters in Action sponsored a prayer vigil that was held at the Colleton Civic Center. And I just want you to know that if you missed that event, the event was spectacular. It was well attended by elected officials and community members just coming together and praying for to stop the violence that is going on in our community. And this particular event was birthed by students who just wanted the community to come together to pray for our community. And I want to thank Ms. Sonia Stevens, as Ms. Strobel has already done, and the student groups for sponsoring this particular event. Also, on last Thursday evening, the school district, in collaboration with Thunderbolt Career and Technology Center, held the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the opening of the barbering and nail tech programs. And as you saw this evening, we had the teachers here to be recognized, and it was such a special event. It was well attended. Again, elected officials were there. We had parents there, students were there, staff, community members, and I too would like to echo and just thank Mr. Kubik and his staff for just arranging and organizing a beautiful event. We are just very excited that we can offer our students additional work-based learning opportunities to prepare them for the workforce. And then on the next slide, I just wanted to highlight our robotics students, and I think I saw Mr. Williams here as well. But the robotics students from Bells Elementary, they advanced to the Eastern Regional Competition on February 8th, which is a great accomplishment. And we are also delighted that one of our robotics team members from the high school, and her name is Olasia Lightsey. She will be representing Colleton County High School in the district at the state level as a finalist for the Dean's List in FTC. And FTC is First Tech Challenge. And I think that Ms. Lightsey's father is one of our SRO officers, and I just wanted him to wave his hand. And then in athletics, I just wanted to highlight that we have several students who will be attending the lower state competition this coming weekend, and we are very grateful for those students. And also, we are honored to have a senior. Her name is Lenasia Sanders, and if you follow our Facebook page, you will see that she signed a letter of intent on February 5th to play softball at South Carolina State University. So we want to give Lenasia Sanders a round of applause. And I just wanted to highlight some of the great things that are happening in different areas in our district and some of the great things that our students are doing. I'll be happy to answer any additional questions that you have, but this concludes this part of my report. All right, thank you. Next, I will call Ms. Hamilton to come up with the Human Resources Report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You guys have my report. If you have any questions or if you need me to expound on anything, I'm more than happy to do so.
Ms. Hamilton, thank you for the depth of the explanation that you gave as far as the processes of, how an applicant can, how that goes through, what effort the board takes part in.
Sure.
And so that was helpful. Thank you for
Yes, ma'am.
outlining that for us.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Thank you, guys.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Hamilton. We look forward to all the good results from those recruiting efforts.
Okay, next I would like to call Mrs. Barrett with the finance report.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
You all have my report, but it's a few items that I want to expand upon in my report. I want to talk about the legislative updates, the governor proposed budget, and the superintendent's proposed budget is looking at raising the teacher's salary, the beginning teacher salary from $45,000 to $50,000. And they're also looking to also give every cell $3,000 raise across every cell. And as you know, last year that didn't happen. Last year, the state made a concerted effort to raise starting teacher salaries and for the early part of the year. Maybe from 0 to 5, they made a bigger salary increase for those teachers because they were trying to do retention and recruitment so we can bring newer teachers and retain them into the, to the education. But this year, they're trying to do a $3,000 increase across all cells, which was, some teachers was coming and asking about that. So I'm glad to see that's happening. But we're going to be following the budget legislation process to make sure to see what's going to be going on. And as we do, I will update you on everything that's going on during the legislation process. Another thing I wanted to mention about the revenue. We had a 3.3% increase in revenue for the local property taxes, but timing also can impact monthly or quarterly revenue figures. So early payments in 1 year might show an increase in revenue, even if the overall collection is similar to the previous year. You have to still look at the whole year to see how that tax is actually going to pan out, because sometimes it's just timing, whether somebody paid early this year and got more revenue in January, maybe they didn't pay early last year and then they paid in February, so you may have decrease. So it's all depending on the timing, but I'm also looking at that, and I will keep you abreast upon that also too. And I also want to say about our property taxes. We got to remember that with our local property taxes, when you're discussing the local taxes, our primary homes are exempt from property taxes. So if you have a home and your first home is, you don't pay property taxes for district operation. But local property taxes for school district operation is like second homes. So if you have a second home, then you have to pay property taxes for school. You have motor vehicles, commercial properties, and rental properties. Those are all go into the local school district operation budget for taxes. Has any questions on that? Okay. Well, thank you so much. I would also like to introduce Brian Nickerson. He is with Maulding and Jenkins, and this is the first year that Brian has audited us, because normally what happens is that they switch up the different years to give us a good audit and to give fresh eye on things. So this is Brian. He's from Columbia, but he's still with Maulding and Jenkins.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent, Chairperson. I've got a few slides, and they have, okay, perfect. So I'm just going to go through it. I'm just going to indicate like on the next slide, and we'll just kind of go through that way. And then if there's any questions as we go through it, please don't hesitate to stop me and ask. But once we get to the end, we can also do questions as well. So I've got a brief agenda. I'm going to go over the engagement team, the results of the 2024 audit, our actual audit opinion, some financial information, and then at the end, those comments and questions. So just to reintroduce myself, my name is Brian Nicholson Malden Jenkins. I'm the engagement director responsible for the district's audit. Hope Pendergrass was our quality control review partner. On the next slide, so this slide and the next slide really just kind of breaks up and kind of illustrates the audit timeline. It's really broken into 3 parts. Segment 1, which is our planning and interim. Segment 2, which is final audit fieldwork. And then segment 3 is our quality control review process. And the main thing I do want to point out is that this year we were able to issue the audit within October. I believe it was dated October 28th. On the next slide, so this is the results of the 2024 audit for Colleton County School District. We conducted our audit in accordance with government auditing standards and generally accepted auditing standards. We did issue an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion. We had no material weaknesses or no significant deficiencies, no internal control related matters. So that is the highest level of assurance that we can provide. On the next slide, our second report is our single audit report. Every year the district is required to undergo a single audit of its major federal programs. This year we audited the ESSER, which is an elementary and secondary school program with $9.1 million. In addition to that, we did audit the special education cluster of $1.7 million. Since the district is a low-risk auditee, you're only required to have 20% of your total expenditures tested. However, because ESSER is so big, we actually tested about 55% of the total expenditures. And similar to our independent auditor's report, we did not have any material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies as well. I'm not going to go over really all of these next few slides. These are required communications. We're required to submit these either orally or in writing, so tonight we're doing a little bit of both. The biggest thing I do want to point out is that the district was required to implement GASB Statement 100 for accounting errors and or accounting changes and error corrections. However, there was no new major accounting changes or error corrections, so this GASB did not have a material effect on the district's financial statements. On the next slide, we did receive full cooperation from Ms. Barrett and her staff. We were only able to issue in October due to the work that they do on the front end. So really, we appreciate the work that they do to allow us to come and do what we need to do. And there were no past adjustments during the audit. The main thing I want to point out on this slide is auditor independence. Our professional standards require that we be independent of all our districts that we audit, and we do maintain that level of independence throughout the audit. So this is really a 5-year look back just at the general fund's fund balance. As of 2024, the district had $24.2 million in unassigned fund balance. All of it was unassigned. That's about 47.4% of total year expenditures for that fund. The state requires at least 8.3%. Or at least 1 month of expenditures be restricted in fund balance. The district has a little under 6. So the district does have a very good cushion in fund balance should it need to fall back and use any reserves, or should it align with the district's strategic plan to then budget and use those reserves as needed. This next slide is really just an illustration of total revenues and expenditures. The total revenues are really primarily local and state as far as the general fund goes, and majority of the expenditures are really instruction and support services. The next slide, we already talked about GASB 100. GASB Statement 101, which has to do with compensated absences, is applicable for this current fiscal year, June 30, 2025. So we are working with the district. We're putting out CPE to just make sure that district is knowledgeable as far as implementing this standard. This last slide, we do provide free quarterly CPE to all of our clients. We also provide it to the board members as well. Now, most of it is financial based, but however, there are some sessions that are more board member focused, and should you ever have interest in sitting in those, please let me or Ms. Barrett know, and we'll gladly get you added to those as well. And with that, thank you again to the district for allowing us to come tonight, and thank you to Ms. Barrett and her team. We really appreciate the opportunity to serve the district.
Board members, any questions?
I would like to reference slide 11, where our general fund is identified from 2020 to 24. And Brian, if you don't, I can ask this of you, but it's really more of a spirit. I know 18 was the amount from last year, but that's before the $3 million that was needed for fund balance to balance our budget. Is that correct? Okay. So we went down from 18, and then the total then was then added for 2024 for $24 million.
Well, we've been going up. Yes, we have not. We balanced the budget this year here with fund balance, but we have not got that audited yet. So
Okay.
where we want to be.
Okay.
But right now, sitting as of June 30th, our fund balance is $24 million.
Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing that question.
Any other questions, board members? Thank you for taking the time to work with us, and we appreciate the compliments you gave for our staff.
All right, well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Moving on, our agenda, anything else from finance, or we'll hear more. 8.07, if you have questions next week. Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Academic and student affairs. Our core purpose is teaching and learning. We look forward to hearing 9.01 from Dr. Jenkins and any other comments she wants to give about our technical support from the state.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Distinguished Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, school board members, our distinguished Superintendent Williams, one and all. From the Division of Academics and Student Affairs, I would like to elaborate on some information from a couple of our slides. The first one is from our federal program slide. The title is Total Allocations 2025. You may recall that our priority plans, continuous improvement plans, have been previously approved. And we received notice today from Ms. Denise Covert-Wilson from the State Department that our transformational coach that our ATSI plan for 2025 has officially been approved. So we're ready to move forward with spending. Okay, just to highlight for you again and for everyone, our priority schools for our district are Northside Elementary and Colleton County High School. And the high school is in receipt of $100,000 to utilize to implement their goals and instructional strategies to help our students. And Northside Elementary funding source from the priority schools, our federal funds, is $90,000. And in that, the high school utilized those funds for the Twilight After School program, additional purchase services to support our teachers with instruction in the classroom and supporting our students. They also utilized the funds for some formative assessment platforms and additional resources for students to use, such as Nearpods in the classroom. And at Northside Elementary School, they're utilizing their priority funds to fund their reading and math interventionists, as well as to purchase additional instructional materials to support our children in the classroom. When we're looking at our ATSI schools, which are Colleton County Middle School, Hendersonville Elementary School, Forest Hills Elementary School, and Cottageville Elementary Schools, they are our ATSI schools, and the fundings, the allocations for those schools are as follows. We are planning to have one middle school reading interventionist, because currently they have a math support person in that role, and we saw a need for a reading interventionist to be added. We also set aside funds for professional development for principals and the Office of an Exceptional Learning Director to go to some professional development opportunities for implementing professional learning communities in the schools, and make sure that we're utilizing our professional learning communities to the greatest extent to support building the capacity of our children and our teachers. We're also utilizing those funds to allow opportunities for our special education teachers to engage in professional learning opportunities after school, along with some general ed teachers and school leaders, just in order to help them improve practice and, again, build their craft and to expand their options for using cutting-edge practices for helping our children. Okay, 2 of our schools are in need of math interventionists, and these funds will be utilized for those 2 schools, which are Cottageville and Hendersonville, because Forest Hills, they currently have math interventionists. And just for a record, those support personnel, the support staff, they will be hired through Kelly Services, those interventionists. I would like to also highlight some information from the Student Support Services slide.
Before you move on, just thank you for listening. I know at the stakeholders meeting, that was some of the input that was given, that the math interventionists were needed. So thank y'all for listening, and the funds, thank you for those funds being approved, those reports being approved, plans being approved, so we have that funding to support those students.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
And if I may ask a quick question, just as you identified priority schools, both the high school as well as Northside, you did mention staff for Northside. Is there no staff funding from the priority school funding at the high school?
The staff that are used to support those students, there are 8 teachers that are hired to support students after school. Those schools that fall behind in grade level, you know, and need additional help with their coursework, we have 8 teachers that are assigned to support students after school.
So those teachers would receive supplemental
yes.
to their salaries?
Yes.
But they're not, their salaries are not pulled from the priority school funding?
No teacher salaries are utilized out of these funds.
It's helpful to know just as we begin the budget process and as we kind of understand that, so thank you for that explanation. And 2, as far as the interventionists go, that is also not a general fund area that we're using Kelly Services, and that also kind of helps to understand too. Sometimes we get noted on Kelly Services, you know, how high that fee is, but when it takes in some of our interventionalists and we have funding from the state to cover that, it's helpful to know that in the budget process. Thank you for that.
And Madam Chair, I apologize for moving past the slide for curriculum and instruction to outline the State Department's technical assistance, the support that we're receiving from Ms. Smalls. Okay, this month, our technical assistance was provided from Ms. Smalls in the following areas. We meet weekly just to discuss observations, all the work plans from the curriculum and instruction area. And we work with district leaders and school teams on our district and school ATSI plans, and thankfully, like as aforementioned, they were approved today. We work with district leaders and school leaders on our turnaround continuous improvement plans, which those two were also approved. We participated in work sessions with district leaders on planning professional development for principals, and on Thursday, Ms. Smalls will be here to meet with our superintendent and Ms. Haddon so we could discuss some additional professional development planning sessions and provide opportunities for our district and school leaders as we continue to serve and build teachers' capacities for helping our children. The last slide I would like to highlight this afternoon is from the Office of Student Support Services. Okay, our current enrollment as of February 6th is 4,465. And some of our attendance intervention efforts, just so you'll know, in South Carolina, students are considered truant if they are between the ages of 6 and 17 and have 3 consecutive unexcused absences or 5 unexcused absences in a school year. In 2023-24, we've identified 1,712 students as truant. And as of February the 7th of this year, we currently have a total of 982 truant students. The Tier 3 intervention supports are employed when students are identified as having 11 or more absences that may warrant additional tiered intervention. Those interventions may include visits to our families, to their homes, to assess the situation, and usually those visits are conducted by our school or district staff, but more particularly our attendance specialists. Sometimes our school nurses are needed to support, and our social workers are either a member from the Office of Exceptional Learning. And in even more severe cases, we will support our children by coordinating a case management with multiple systems to include our local DSS, Department of Special Services, Mental Health, one of our providers, whether it's Coastal Empire or Synergy. And sometimes we have to consult with Low Country if it's a case or instances where we're dealing with homelessness. And in some cases, we consult with the Department of Juvenile Justice or in Pillars for Hope. It's contingent upon the need of the students and the family. And I would like to identify or to share that some students can be identified as habitual truants, and you can only be identified as such if you're at least 12 years old. And it is a mandate for us to provide alternative options for those students who are identified in this category. That's why we have the option of our students being able to be assigned to, call it an alternative, to assign to CAS. And this will be assigned for us. This will be like our last resort for those students because our court system, we can't refer them unless we exhaust all of our efforts, and by assigning them to CAS, that is a sign that, we've lost all hopes in terms of letting the families work with us to get the children in school. And we also sometimes are creative with our efforts to support those families, but when we can't get them to comply and conform and come to school, then we'll have to assign them to family court. And improving absenteeism at the elementary level is a continual work in progress. Our district support staff works tirelessly and closely with our school leaders, professional school counselors, and our school psychologists to address the needs of our students and their families to improve student attendance. Our secondary data shows that the number of truant students is decreasing. However, we are constantly brainstorming ways to keep our students engaged in school so that they will come. The primary interventions we have for elementary students with excessive absences because they can't be identified as a habitual truant below 7 years old. Well, in the elementary level, below 12 years old, what we do, we connect with our community agencies in order to help us in other outreach programs. So this concludes my updates for this evening. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Dr. Jenkins, I appreciate you bringing those points to mind, and I wonder, I know it's a statewide problem, it's not just us, are there efforts for us to connect with other parts of the state for strategies? Are there committees or groups or roundtables that help, you know, I know we brainstorm locally, but do we reach out to other counties for success in helping with the truancy?
Yes, ma'am. And we have worked closely with a cohort from the State Department. It was an attendance coalition. And we received a lot of strategies and just record-keeping practices to make sure that we're coding children appropriately, especially when they exit our district, so those students won't be counted against us. And also, some of our district employees took the initiative to apply for a grant. I can't remember the title of the grant, but Nurse Dingle, she's spearheading that project. And the 2 schools that were identified in that grant, because we had to be very specific with the data and the information, and those 2 schools were, at that time, it was Forest Hills and Northside, and we're in the middle of spending those funds now. Now, that doesn't mean that they have the most truant children at this time, but when we qualified for the grant last year, those were the 2 schools with the greatest need. So just know we're out there researching.
And I also wanted to say, thank you, Dr. Jenkins, for that.
Yes,
I also wanted to thank, because I know you mentioned that, you know, the SROs assist us when it comes to the home visits, and I just want to publicly thank Sheriff Hill, because we went to meet with him, Dr. Jenkins and I, Dr. Wright, to just talk about, you know, how we can work together more, partner together, and Sheriff Hill was very, very accommodating to us, and I just wanted to publicly thank him for his partnership with the Colleton County School District.
And just as a thought, I wonder with the older students, if we're able to get our career facilitators, you know, engaged, and the counselors, you know, so they see a future and a want to come to school, you know, to get a career.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say thank you for highlighting that information. I think it's important to recognize that to be a challenge within our school district. And as we, you know, again, are looking at budget season and providing for the instructional needs for our staff, are we in need of support staff in student services to help this situation? I mean, is that something that you are considering in the budget process?
Yes, ma'am, we are. We do need the help. And as Dr. Jenkins noted, you know, family court, you know, we've spoken with DSS to help us with this, but they are short-staffed. And that is why they can't provide as much support to us. So yes, having additional support in student services would help us as we are, you know, just getting that message out to parents about the importance of students coming to school. It's very important, and it affects our students' learning. It affects, what they do every day. They miss different standards when they're not at school, when they're late, when they're tardy. So we just want to get the word out to parents who are listening in. Please help us help your children and make sure that they're present and accounted for at school every day.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just want to thank Dr. Jenkins for that report, an awesome report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. Moving on to item number 10, our operational management. A safe, secure, and positive environment will be conducive for teaching and learning. That's one of our core values, and we welcome Dr. Martin Wright to give us a formal report from the operational management side.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Williams, district level administrators, and our audience. It is a pleasure to come before you tonight. Madam Chair, members of the board, you currently have in front of you the presentation from the Division of Operational Management. I would like to emphasize a point of celebration tonight. This is one of the ongoing request that we received from Madam Secretary about supporting our athletics, and particularly our spectators who come to our campus who have limited access to purchase tickets. If you had an opportunity to attend any one of our games as of last Friday, you would have noticed that we have provided a solution to giving our spectators limited access to our system. So it's a point of celebration. As I promised to you, we will be working on that in a way that protects the integrity of our networking system here in Colleton County School District.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Wright. We appreciate the team approach with your Department of Operation to take care of that with partnership.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is our pleasure to respond to questions and the need from our Board of Trustees and our Superintendent. In other information tonight, Madam Chair, there were 2 additional inquiries that have come from our Board of Trustees that I would like to respond tonight. One is dealing with the furniture needs from the Office of Transportation, and the second dealing with any potential flooring needs at Colleton County Middle School. First, Madam Chair and Mr. Vice Chair, I would like to say that regarding the needs for the Office of Transportation furniture, we are currently exploring funding opportunities to provide professional office furniture for the office. Currently, we are repurposing unused office furniture that is located here in our district office to be utilized as temporary furniture for the Office of Transportation. This process will not fully furnish the office, however, it will give it a good start. And at this point, we currently have in hand some quotes from office furniture vendors for us to explore as we're looking at the funding opportunity for the office. In the second inquiry coming from the Board of Trustees regarding the flooring matter at Colleton County Middle School, additional flooring problems were not noted after the installation of the bleachers at Colleton County Middle School. However, in collaboration with our district contractors, we will review and explore those options for any other additional capital improvement work and add this project to our to-do list. If from the assessment the need for further improvement of the flooring matter, we will add this to a potential list of summer work for 2025. Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation for this evening from the Division of Operational Management. It would be my pleasure to answer and facilitate any questions that may be coming from you and your colleagues tonight.
Dr. Wright, I apologize I didn't send this in another email, but if you'll put on your to-do list as we're looking at budget, I continue to get questions from the community about retention ponds. I know that's something that didn't just start, but it's something that we have to pay attention to. It's under our watch that we get those things cleaned up.
Madam Chair, you would be delighted to know that even from previous
communication with the board that the retention pond is listed as a priority.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
Community
ma'am.
members that are listening will be happy to hear, and they'll
Yes, ma'am.
make sure I continue to ask.
All right, I just have a quick question. You were talking about flooring needs at the middle school. Can you tell me, was there any other efforts done for the flooring for the ROTC wing at the high school? Were any of those issues readdressed?
Those issues are in the process of being explored. We have quotes in place, and the same issue exists, is that we are looking at the funding options to make sure that we can cover the cost of that. And part of that funding option is sitting at the table to look at how we can use any continuous capital improvement money to help make that matter happen and to remedy that as quick as possible. And if we are able to do it, that'll be another project that we'll add to a summer list as to not to disrupt instruction.
And I know we'll talk about this further, but as we're looking at those projects, we want to make sure, according to policy, that they follow the state guidelines for any renovations we have done. So let's make sure I know you're into following the policy, let's make sure we're following so we don't have those concerns after a project's finished.
Absolutely, Madam Chair.
Dr. Wright, have we come up with a solution on the unit in the superintendent's office?
Mr. Vice Chair, for your question, we are still working on remedying that situation to give you further information. We are waiting on quotes from our vendor that we're working with to order the next part. As soon as that quote comes in, following our procurement process, we'll move forth with the part being ordered. And as soon as the part gets ordered, the company will immediately come back in and make another attempt to see whether this would be the corrective part for this air conditioning unit. However, to your point, Mr. Vice Chair, this for me as the assistant superintendent will be the last draw in terms of trying to fix this issue with the air conditioning unit. From this point, my next step will be make a recommendation to the superintendent for replacement.
I think I echo Trustee Murdoch from last meeting. I would encourage you, let's already be done with that. And let's do what we need to do to move forward with a new unit to get that fixed. We've been dealing with this for entirely too long. We need to stop trying to order parts and seeing if this part will fix it. We need to move forward with getting that unit fixed so we don't have this issue for our superintendent and her administrative assistant.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Wasn't it mentioned that it might be something electronic or in the control? Was that found not to be the case?
So what we've discovered to be the case for some time now is that we don't necessarily have a mechanical engine issue with that unit. The problem that we're continuing to discover is that there's a technological issue, and when I use that term, it has no connection to any technology concerns with the district. It is just simply how these newer units are made, that they're more technologically savvy with more technical issues in it than just the traditional air conditioning units that use the analog system.
But that would require a part? Is that where the part comes in?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that clarifying question, Madam Chair. That is where the part comes in, and is simply dealing with a chip mother's board that needs to be responded to, and that becomes the overarching issue in responding to that unit, because that becomes an elongated process of really finding out who has that part, where we can get that part, and it is a test of trial and error that when that part comes in, will that actually be the solution, the proper chip to fix that technology connection on that air conditioning unit outside?
Okay, so maybe by next week we'll know if you think that's a solution. I know that's where we were headed, to find out if that could be repaired.
I would be more apt to give you and the community a response, not saying next week, but as soon as we get the quote in from the vendor, and we can move expeditiously to process that quote, then I can give you a more tight timeline on when the service can be rendered and when that part comes in.
Thank you.
Yes, Madam
We
Chair.
know you're on it, and Ms. Williams, we appreciate you with the remote heat and things that you've added for comfort. Thank you.
Right, do we know the approximate cost of that part? Do we have any idea?
No, sir, I cannot clearly and publicly give you an estimation at this time because I have not received the quote from the vendor on the estimation of that part.
That would be included labor too, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Vice Chair.
Any other questions for operations?
Just want to say how much we enjoyed our new space at TCTC, and that was a long time coming, so it was wonderful to be able to celebrate that new space for our students and staff, but also we want to be able to celebrate the robotics and transportation addition as well. I'm assuming that that is on schedule for that move-in next week?
To be correct, to give you a little correction, Madam Secretary, the actual robotics class and all of the current equipment that we have in the district associated with that class was moved today. We have a schedule in place. We did a walkthrough with the members of Buildings and Ground on Monday with our classroom teacher. He was there as part of the process, and he helped us to facilitate what needs to be moved, what does not need to be moved. And then today, I launched the entire team from facilities and, Buildings and Grounds to be at Colleton County Middle School today to help with the move. Next Monday, we're going to do a walkthrough again of the transportation, and Tuesday, we'll be facilitating the move of the transportation office to including the use of potential office furniture currently here at district office that we have not been using for years.
Got it. That sounds great. I just wanted you to know I can't wait to celebrate it. I've asked Ms.
Yes,
Williams
ma'am.
for a tour of that space. So just as much as we anticipated and celebrated TCTC, just know we're looking forward to celebrating that new space.
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
middle school, too.
I'd asked Superintendent Williams if she would just give us some time with the list of things that we're doing so we can get that space moved into so that we can celebrate it and then invite her and her board members to a celebration or ribbon cutting sorts for the same two offices space.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wright.
My pleasure.
We know Mr. Williams is sitting there making sure everything is done correctly, and we appreciate
I saw
him
him
being
smiling.
here at the age of 80, teaching middle school. My hat's off to him, and if I say that one more time, y'all might not want to hear it, but I'm going to continue to say it because this is the year we're celebrating Mr. Ed Williams turning 80. So as we move forward with our agenda, are there any questions for operation? If not, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion that we enter to executive session. We have 3 items that need to be discussed.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we enter into executive session for the discussion and receipt of legal advice regarding personnel matters, the discussion and receipt of legal advice regarding contractual matters, and the discussion and receipt of legal advice regarding policy FB facilities planning.
Second.
We have a motion. Mr. Cunningham gave a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving to executive session, right hand. Unanimous. We'll be moving into executive session. We may or may not need to take action when we come out, and we appreciate all of you that were here tonight and the fruitful meeting that we've had.
Ms. Williams?
Welcome back. We're coming out of executive session. I'll entertain a motion that we enter back into regular session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we enter back in the open session.
I second.
We have a motion and a second that we enter back into open session. All those in favor? Thank you. Ms. Williams has an announcement.
Yes, we would just like to encourage all of our staff, our parents, our students to post positive comments about Team Colleton. We have an initiative going on right now entitled #WeLoveTeamColleton, and we're posting all of the positive things that are going on in our school district. So we just encourage you, if there's great news that you would like to share about our district, please feel free and hashtag it, #WeLoveColleton. We love Team Colleton. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. #WeLoveTeamColleton, and we appreciate your attention tonight and your attendance. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second, and we'll invite you to next week's meeting at 6 o'clock on Tuesday. All those in favor? Motion adjourned.
Mr. Murphy?